All right. So hopefully everyone can hear me now. Let's see if we can get the link for this. Let's see, copy link here. Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? Anybody? Do I still get no voice? I mean, let's see. I'm in a new stream link. So see if you can scoot over. I'm trying to frantically. All right, so it looks like I got some comments. Hello, thank you. All right, take 2. All right, so let's see. I had this like fantastic intro. It played like a dream in the other one, so here I go again. In this episode of the Toolbox, we'll take a look at some great tools, including my new favorite Flowchart Designer, a site that explains the shells, and I'll introduce you to the tools inside Github to help you with project management. Let's get started. So. All right, looks like take 2 was a lot better. I am getting some messages in the chat that it's working, so I appreciate you guys putting up with my newness. And I think that every time I try to do this, I try to change something about what I'm doing, and that always creates potential problems. So I think this week what I did was try to use a cleaner computer that doesn't have a lot of things installed. So that is what caused the no audio problem, but hopefully we'll get this all figured out, and in a few weeks we'll be really on a roll here. So please write some comments. I appreciate you guys letting me know that you can hear me, and also that there is everything's working now, so that's good. So I wanted to do this sort of like show live stream sort of thing to just interact with people that follow maybe some of my courses on LinkedIn, and or just whoever wants to listen to me talk. But I wanted to leave you with some takeaways. So one of the things that I'm doing is bringing you guys some of the tools that I've really appreciated during the week. If you follow me on LinkedIn, like every day I post about some sort of new tool that I think is pretty cool, or I do a poll or whatever. So I wanted to kind of give you a demo of what I like about the tool and let you see that I'm really, whenever I do post about a tool, like I do give it a shot and try it out. I do try to be like a filter that tries out the thing that I'm talking about. So the first tool that I wanted to talk to you about is called Flowchart Designer. A few weeks ago, I posted on Twitter about me trying to find a tool for doing flowcharts. And I really love this tool called MindNode on the Mac. It's a Mac-only tool that lets you do mind maps. So I wanted something similar, and I tried a lot of different things, but I finally found this one. It is really a Mac OS only tool, but you get a Mac version, an iPhone version, and an iPad version. And there's also a free version of the tool that I really like So if you just want to try it out, you can try the free version. So this is what the tool looks like. It's pretty awesome. Like you just go in here and you can create some boxes, and then inside the boxes you can type in some text. And then from here, you can link this to another box if you want to, or just create an arrow like that. So let's say you grab another box here, and then you can actually tie these boxes together with these little arrows, right? So you just tie them to any one of the nodes, which is pretty cool. And then if you move this box, the node kind of moves with it, which I think is it's exactly what I wanted. And then you can also double click on these nodes and then put in a, sometimes you add like a yes or a no text explanation here or something like that. Pretty flexible. It has like a lot of different pre-built styles, and the difference between the regular tool and the the paid version, which I think it's only like $8 or so, is that you get a bunch of other shapes. So I think the shapes that come with the free version are pretty simple, and then when you get the paid version, you get just a lot more tool, like little basic and balloons and different kinds of arrows. Honestly, not something that you have to have, but definitely something that, if you want to support the developer, I think that's a good thing to do. But I really just love that it's very much like MyNote. I just put in my little boxes, and then I can just go ahead and move them around how I want to. I can put in this little text explanation. If I do want to break apart the graphic, I can do that. Like you just saw there, I can take this arrow off if I want to. I don't know what I would want to. If I want to add like another sort of direction for this node, you can just keep on adding these different sort of points to this. So you can make it really complicated if this is getting, if you've got a lot of graphics around this image. Also, like it does export. It exported for me as a PDF, which is not as useful, but then it also exported as a PNG image. You do have to watch out because to make it does allow you to make a graphic transparent, which I think is pretty useful. But if you want to save the PNG image as transparent, you have to come in here and color the background of this something other than any of these colors, actually. So you have to go to custom and then find the the color tool and just make that transparent. And of course, the reason they do that is because you may not want the the text to be on top of this arrow. So it doesn't erase the arrow. It just puts like a box of the same color as the background behind. So this is called Flowchart Designer 3. So again, it's a Mac only app, but it does come with iOS, which I don't know if I would use it on iOS, but maybe for a quick little graph. And also, of course, like it's one purchase, although there's a free version, and you get the iPad and the iPhone and the Mac version as well. It's really cool. A lot of apps are doing that. So this was a win-win-win for me. I needed this for explaining, GitHub sort of flowcharts, and this really worked well for me. So it looks like actually people are trying to come into the broadcast because I think I put my broadcast link. So I'm not accepting people into the broadcast. So it looks like Priya and Anka sort of just grabbed the link that I gave above, and I think there's probably a better link on LinkedIn. So if anybody can share that, I'll go ahead and add it to the stream. All right, so another tool that I really love this week was this thing called Gradient Art. Now, I heard about this tool and I thought, oh, great, another gradient editor. Like I've got so many gradient editors. Wow, I don't, it's going to be like average. And it was amazing. Like you can see a little bit of the interface here. So this has also got a very cool URL. I don't know if I can zoom in here. The URL for this is gra.dient.art. So it spells gradient art, and I guess the TLD is .art at the end. So very clever. And let's just go ahead and hit the explore example so you can see. So you can have all these different kinds of gradients. Let's go ahead and open this one. The nice thing is that you get all the code, of course, and then what's sort of the killer app for this thing Oh, this is great. So here's the broadcast link. Also, you can just go to LinkedIn or YouTube or wherever you're hearing me from. There should be a link there as well. So you get all the code, but look over here on the left, you've got the ability to create layers and then just put a new gradient on top of each one of the layers. So you can really make an extremely complicated layer with a visual tool. So let's open this up. So I see a lot of people like drawing on, with in CSS tricks and stuff. And I would never, I don't know, I feel like I never would want to draw anything with just strictly code. Like I need a visual editor. My brain just sort of quits, I think, if I think that I have to do a lot of code. But this could be a good way to maybe draw some things and then just save them as CSS layers. Here's the rays. And you can see the code down here and then reformat any of those gradients however you want it to make them look cool. So I was pretty amazed by this little tool. This is also like a similar thing where you get all these sort of little gradients that are just balls. And then you can get the code down here. And you have this like really cool full featured editor, right? That lets you control how those layers work. And I don't have a lot of room here for the interface, but you can see that you can kind of reposition, reorient, and resize any of those, repeat the background by a certain amount, just like you would in CSS. So pretty awesome. I mean, I was impressed. I don't know who does these things, but it's pretty impressive. All right, the next tool that I thought was pretty awesome was this thing called explainshell.com. This is like it says a lot of times, like you've copied some code that lets you do something on the shell, but you're not really sure what -s or, what's the difference between like the minus capital S versus the minus lowercase s. So this tool just lets you type in something in the command line, and you can just click on these sort of examples, and then it tells you what everything does as you type this thing on the shell. So let's see if I can find. So here we go. So here's, I think, a good one, a good example. So you can type in here, find period minus type f print 0, and you can see what each one of those things does. And essentially what it's doing is it's taking a look at man pages and just giving you the man pages, but you can play around with this yourself in an interface that is pretty amazing. The other thing that I like is that once you type in a command here, and there's like a couple of themes, then you could just copy the URL if you want to send the command to somebody. If you want to send a command to somebody with explanations, then you could copy this link and then just send it to somebody in an email, and they would be able to take a look at the explanations. It's really good if you're helping somebody out and telling them, hey, try this in the shell. Then you can send the explanation along with the command. So when I was doing like, when I was doing like git, so you could do like, I don't know, git commit -m, or try like -am here and see what it does. See, it's telling you what the different commands do. So love this thing. Definitely something that you may want to bookmark. The next tool that I love is Emmet Live. So this, if you've never used Emmet, it's a sort of a macro tool that lets you type in a shortcut for some code and then expand it to final code. This makes Emmet like 10 times more useful because, and let me just show you, I'll just give you a demo. So let me pull up Visual Studio Code here. So where's my visual? I think I may have some code here. Yeah, here we go. So if you know Emmet, first of all, if it comes with Visual Studio Code, so you should already have this if you use Visual Studio Code, and it gives you a shortcut. Like for example, one of my favorite shortcuts is this exclamation, character. When you do that, it gives you the basic HTML page, and it puts the character at device width, and you can put in a device width here if you want to, or just leave that and then hit tab again. Put in the scale, put in the title, and if you hit tab again, then it puts the text in the body. Super awesome, right? Well, the thing is, when you want to sort of try create sort of a shortcut, you might do something like this. Like, I know I want a headline level 1, and then after that, and I want a paragraph, and inside that paragraph, I want some lorem ipsum text, and maybe you want like maybe 3 paragraphs. And then what you do is you hit tab to apply this, and for some reason there, and then it does this, like it creates what you typed in there, and you're like, oh, I screwed up. I put in all these paragraphs inside the headline level 1. What I should have done here is put in a plus sign here, right? Let's try that. And then it makes this is a little bit better. So it's giving you the headline with the paragraphs. So what this tool does, if you I'm hitting Command Shift P, and I'm going to run Emmet live. And so what I'm going to do now is going to do the same thing. And as a matter of fact, I can say, well, I want to put this all in a main container. And then inside that main container, I want to have then an article containers. And I want to maybe do 5 of those. You see, like as I'm typing them, it's actually creating them and letting me preview them as I am testing out this Emmet shortcut. So here, let's see, I can do 5, and then I'm going to do inside that, I'm going to do a headline. And inside the headline, I want to put in, I'll just put headline, right? And then after that, then I want to do some paragraphs with inside some lorem ipsum text. And then what I want to do then is create some anchor tags, and then maybe an href of # inside them. Let's close this out. See, like it's a much more visual way of creating the sort of commands. And so this is pretty awesome. Let's see, and then href. I don't know why it's not putting the href inside. Sometimes you have to like put these things in parentheses. So maybe I'm doing something wrong on the abbreviation. But you get the point. Like you can really test out your abbreviation. Let's just leave it as A right now. And you can test out your abbreviation. And then once you have something you like, idea to copy these just in case you want to save it for something else. Then you can just hit return, and it gives you the same thing that it did before. I probably needed to put this in parentheses and make sure they appear after the paragraph, and then put them in quotation in parentheses. So that's cool because Emmet lets you build all these little shortcuts. So this Emmet Live is just giving you the ability to kind of prototype the code that you're going to be creating the shortcuts with. And then I like to keep my shortcuts that I'm going to use maybe over and over in the clipboard, or I have like an infinite clipboard application that lets me just keep them, and then you can star them and stuff. So this is like, this makes, I mean, I think the reason I don't use Emmet sometimes is because it's such a pain to try to figure out what the correct shortcut is. And then I end up undoing and retrying it and undoing and retrying it. So also don't worry. So somebody's asking, can somebody make a list of all the tools? So what I'll do after I finish this is I will post a blog post on my website, which is raybo.org, and it'll have a list with links to all the tools you see today. And then I will add the live stream in there as well. So the live stream will go in there as well. Please don't, I see people trying to join. I made a mistake of, don't worry about bookmarking them. I'm going to actually create, a blog post, and I will link to it in the comments of the live stream or on YouTube or wherever else. And it'll be like a full article with descriptions of everything. It'll have links to everything. So that'll work. So don't worry. All right. So what else do we have? What's next after Emmet Live, which, oh my gosh, that thing is awesome. Explain shell, Emmet Live. Oh, this is pretty cool. I love this one too. So let's go back into Visual Studio Code, or Google Chrome, actually, I think is what I'm using. Let's go back, and maybe it's behind here. Okay, so I put them in order. This is cool for, ever have like family come over and they're like, what's your Wi-Fi password? And being the super secure person that you are, you've created this ridiculously long like hash and it's like capital this character, blah, blah, blah. Well, this little website, it's a WiFiCard.io. It just lets you type in your network name. I don't know, Wild Stallions, for those of you who watch Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. That's the name of their group. And then you can put in whatever your password is in here, and then you just print this out. It creates a QR code. You just tell people, hey, let's take a photo of this. It'll take you to, it'll let you log in. And so you can point your phone to at the QR code to connect automatically. This is definitely not my network name or password. But just if you have an Airbnb, you could just print this out. If you just like have people coming over, print this out, put it on top of your router, and just tell people, just, yeah, you take your phone, because sometimes it's really hard, or even maybe you're visiting somewhere and you just want everybody to know what the password is. So you could just take a screenshot of this and then just, pull it up on your phone. So I guess, yeah, you could, there are a few little options here. So after this, you can go ahead and hit the print button. And I'm not sure why. I guess if you wanted it to be taller, like for a tall phone, you can hit rotate and it'll give you like a tall version of this. But if this is probably a better layout for print. So super awesome. All righty. So somehow I put Flowchart Designer. I don't know what I'm looking for. All right. So last thing I wanted to do is just sort of go over the basics of GitHub project management, because GitHub has all these amazing tools to help you manage your projects. And I think that if you're not using them, you're missing out, because it can really help you just be a little more efficient at managing your projects. So so I have a couple of little demo sites or repos here. This is a private repo, so you wouldn't be able to get to it. But you can pull up your own repos. And the first tool that you use to, manage a project is contributors. So you can add additional people, especially on private projects. So on an open project, people can contribute openly, clearly to your code. But when you create a private project, you have to actually invite somebody. So what you do is you go to settings for your project and then manage access, and then you can add a collaborator. So all you do is you hit invite a collaborator, and here you can put in somebody's username. So you can just type in somebody's name and it'll be pretty smart. Of course, not finding me. So the easiest way, I think, is just if you know their address. How is there somebody already called Planet of the Web? That's not me. Interesting. Well, it's probably because let's find my friend Morton. There you go. So I can just type in a name and then I can click on that person's name, and then this will add Morton to this repository, but then it'll also send him an email saying, hey, you've been invited to this repository as a collaborator, and that will allow them to make changes to this repository and contribute. So that's number one. The GitHub, you can use it just by yourself, but it becomes way better when you work with other people. So the next thing that you would do to organize your projects, and you could do this whether or not you're doing things by yourself, is by creating issues for your project. So there's actually a couple of different things that you can do here. Issue is essentially how you can create a to-do or a note about something that you have to do in your project. So say I'm going to do a spell, like don't forget to do a spell check or something. Do a spell pass on your site. So you can create an issue like that. And then in here, you can maybe write some descriptions, just read over the text. And once you do that, if you've added people to your project, then you can add assignees and assign this to somebody else. It's always a good idea to let somebody else read your text. I used to work at a print shop, and our rule was if you set the type, you never read it for errors, because you've been working with it so long that it becomes impossible for your brain to even see the errors. So definitely have somebody else read the site over. And then, so by assigning this, that's pretty cool. So now Terry would get an email saying, hey, look at this issue. And then they can go in here and assign things to the issue. The other thing is, like, there's a couple of ways to further organize the issues themselves that you should look at. So for example, labels are how you kind of can categorize. Once you start adding more than one thing, you want to sort of split them into categories. So you can click in here and type in your own label if you want to, but there's a lot of really useful. So maybe this is a good help wanted label. And the way that this interface works is pretty cool. You just click on things and it will make a change to the project. So we'll say help wanted, and then maybe I don't see anything in here. Maybe this could be a good first issue. So a good first issue is a label for if you are trying to sort of get some credit for helping with open source project. By far, the number one way to help, or I think it's like 80%, it's a huge number. The number one way that people help with open source is with the documentation. So if you go to a site and you're reading the documentation, you notice an error, that's a fantastic way to become a contributor to a project. You're helping the project out. Perhaps they, typed in some code that doesn't make sense. This is a great way. And it's also easy enough because in GitHub, you can just go ahead and edit directly or send in a pull request directly with the text and mark it up and let people know really quickly. So maybe I'll tag this as help wanted and good first issue, and that will be added to the the issue. Then the next thing is you can work with projects. We haven't done projects, we'll do that at the end. But then you can also create a milestone. So once your project starts getting more complicated, what will happen is you'll have a bunch of issues that are kind of part of the same goal that you want to accomplish, and that's where milestones come in. You can say, okay, well, these 3 issues are really part of, say you have a meeting every other week, just call the sprint in web development, where you talk to everybody and you say, what have we accomplished? Then you can create a milestone and then just say July, 21 sprint or something. You can create a milestone for this project that essentially lets people know that, hey, right now, notice also, this is pretty cool. It gives you this bar. Right now, the bar doesn't have anything because we haven't added this issue. But once you start adding issues, it will also give you a progress bar. So you can track, there's 3 issues in here. None of them have been started. So you can track where you are on the project based on how many issues have been marked as resolved. So that's another super way of getting you sort of organized. And then when you are looking at a project, you can see, oh, we have these different milestones that we want to accomplish. A good way of breaking them down is by sprint. Usually sprints happen every other week just to keep you engaged on the project. And so create milestones. The milestones can also be things that you want to accomplish. So they don't necessarily need to be tagged to a specific date. They can just be, say you're adding a new feature, say you're adding a search engine or something to your site. That can have a bunch of, issues that are grouped together into a milestone. And whenever that feature is complete, then you can, look at that, and we'll see in projects how that works. After you do this, let's see, I think then we can submit this new issue. And once you submit the issue, take a look at what's happened here. It actually documents everything that you have done with the project. So it marks that you have added these 2 different labels, that you also added this to the milestone, and then that you assigned this to Pterodactyl here. And then the fun begins. Like what else you can do. Let me go ahead and hide this other comment here. So hide. Okay, so I'm looking at the comments. Cool. Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. This is like a lot of fun, actually. If you to be able to talk to people. Normally, you're like all in your little box doing courses, and I used to think that I would be great. Like I would do fine without any people. But after I started, the pandemic hit and I started working by myself, I realized that you really, at some point, you do need people. So it's nice to be able to talk to some of the people that watch the stuff that that I do. So, all right. Yeah, milestones are amazing. Just, the way that you organize things in GitHub is how most of the software that you use gets done. And it's just a battle tested, used by millions of people project management, tons of code. There is actually some improvements that are being made to this by GitHub. So I don't know if I can find that. Let's see, GitHub issues. Let's see, there's actually, let's see, yeah, so this is a website. So there's actually a beta that you can sign up for if you really are into project planning. I signed up for it. I haven't gotten in. I haven't really asked people to help me get in there. But what it does, this is pretty cool. You can watch a video about it. But what it gives you in addition to the things that you're seeing and that I'll show you in a minute, normally the way that you manage projects in GitHub is by these Kanban boards. And I'll show you that in a minute. But this gives you this extra table view, which I think is a little bit easier for project managers to look at. And this just gives you another view. So if you're interested, you can go to github.com/features/issues and take a look and sign up for the beta. I'm still waiting. GitHub, if you're watching, come on, let's do this. I'll make you a video and everything, and I'll help people learn it. All right, so we've got our milestone. We've got our issue, and you can see that there's 2 participants. You can pin this issue. You can also now, as I was saying, this is where the fun starts. Now you can comment on things that you noticed about this issue. So Terry can come in and say, I don't want to do this. That would be sort of mean. Or I'm too busy until the next sprint. That could be maybe a good note. Or maybe just letting, if Terry doesn't want to, like maybe Terry's just a copy editor. So he wants to look at, he wants to just look at the text without looking at the code. Then Terry can just let you any kind of note. And in notes, you can also do like little checkbox to do. So the way that you do checkbox to dos are like this. And if you want to have a completed one, you would do this. This will accept Markdown. So you can type in, if you know Markdown, headline here, and you hit preview. And for some reason, let's see, this is not working. So for some reason, the to-do things, let's see, it also has like a little GUI here. So there, well, that's exactly what I type in. Maybe I need to type in a label here. Let's try the preview. Maybe once, there you go. So now you can kind of have a checkbox for people to check. And then when you finish it off, I guess you don't need the space. Oh yeah, it does have a space in the middle. When you want to check it, then you hit this, and you can see that it's been done. It's been checked. So maybe here I could add a list of the pages that need some review, and that way you kind of can give somebody an outline of what they need, and then Terry can comment on this. And then once this is done, I would close this issue. You can close it with the comment, or just close it like this. Also, you can mention people. So here, let's go ahead and edit. And you hit the add sign, and it'll bring up everybody in the project, and you can go through and select somebody, and they'll also get a note. So if you want to get their attention by putting the add sign and then mentioning somebody, they will get an email saying that somebody has mentioned you in an issue and things like that. And there's lots of friendly faces that you can put in here. So yeah, issues are amazing. You probably have seen them all over the web, but pretty easy to get started with, and the notes can be to yourself as well. Then the final one is projects. So projects is how you really super organize things. I have a project going on here, but let's go ahead and start from scratch. I don't know. Let's say that we're working on version 2 or something of this. The nice thing is that it gives you these templates, and the templates will have automation that communicates with the issues as well. So when you move something in projects, you'll see that the issues will also get a note as to what is happening with them. So let's see, basic. So I'm going to choose basic Kanban here, create project. And the templates are nice, but you can do all this yourself. When you create a first template, it actually gives you some instructions here. So let me go ahead and delete those. Let's see, delete these notes. So we can just, let's see, delete note. This is also something interesting. When you create a note, you can actually have the note automatically convert to an issue. So you can do, hold on, what did I, wasn't paying attention there. Delete note. Okay, so now we don't have anything in here. So you can actually just manage everything from here, create an issue directly from here, add yourself a note, and begin the issue here, and then choose, convert this to an issue. Notice though that over here on the right, it actually noticed that I already had an issue that might work really well. So I can just drag this over into the to-do section, and I'll close this out now. And the way that Kanban works is that you have a number of columns, and think of it as a two-dimensional to-do list. And this is what makes it super powerful, that a lot of times you'll make a to-do list and it'll be so long that you can't focus on what you need to actually do for the day, perhaps. So this allows you to say, hey, I have 10 to-dos, say that you had 10 to-dos here. And what I want to do today is get this one done. So I'll move it into the in progress column and work on this until it's done. And then once I'm done with that, then I can move it into the done column. So this also gives you some, the ability to archive them if you're done with them. I'm going to come back here to the issue. Notice that it gives you kind of a preview of what the issue is. I'm going to go to the issue here for full details. And notice that it also added all these events. It's added this issue to this version to do. And now I'm going to go ahead and close this issue. Go say, hey, thanks for say that Terry already reviewed things here. So for the review, and I'm going to say close this issue with a comment, and now this issue is marked and closed. Again, it added that so to the sort of list the history of what happened with this project. So you get, a really easy way to track things. Let's go back into the projects and we'll go to version 2. And notice that it did mark it as it being complete, but now I'm going to automatically, or I'm going to move it into the done column. And that will, again, just mark that this issue is now done. And if I want to, I can go ahead and archive it so it's not even on this list. A lot of people will add an additional column to the left called the backlog. The backlog is just for things like it's even it's almost like ideas. Is a place for you to add ideas. So you can, if you want to, add other columns to this and add. Let's see. Actually, no, that's not a good example. So you can filter the things here, and with another column, I think that you can use one for the backlog, which is usually thoughts that you're having, not things that you need to do specifically, but perhaps concepts for discussions that you want people to maybe comment on before you do anything else. So that's a good place to put those. And then once they become actionable things, you can move it on to to-dos. And then you should really only have like almost one thing in your in progress bar per person. So every person, and this is another way that people use this, like a lot of people, let me go ahead and just put myself on full screen here. So a lot of people will take, will come to work that day, take a look at the to-dos, and then say, oh, I want to work on this, and just grab it and move it over. And what that does is sort of like, lets everybody take ownership of a specific to-do. If you're working with a group, this actually works great if you're having like a big, the Kanban process. If you're having like contractors come to your house, then you can organize, you can actually do this with like sticky notes, and you can kind of make that two-dimensional list. And, whenever a contractor comes, you can grab that to do and move it to the in progress, and then move it to done, and then archive them. It's really a fantastic way to work. So if you haven't used GitHub issues before with projects, I think, give it a shot. I think you will begin to love the Kanban process. It's really whenever things get really hectic, it's the only way that I can like get my life organized, just by using this sort of process of having that two-dimensional list. I've tried so many to-do list applications. This is the only one that really works whenever things get very complicated. And it's really good also if you are in a group and you actually have to do things in a group, and you don't want people to sort of do the same, task, then once somebody grabs a task and puts it in progress, it can be assigned to them. Then they can work on that task. And then somebody that comes in and wanted to do that task just notices that that person is currently on that task. So they look at the to-dos or maybe the backlog and then grab something to do from there. And, it makes it like a really efficient way for multiple people to work on things. So I don't even know what time it is. I apologize for the audio. I don't really see a lot of questions, and I do have some comments. Hey, Erlinda courses helped me move from graphic design major to a senior software engineer. Wow, that's awesome. Same thing happened to me. I used to, actually, before I became a Lynda author, I purchased Lynda and, purchased a subscription for myself and taught myself. And I came from graphic design onto web development. So part of the reason why I love Teach It is because I was essentially, Samurai Jack a while back, and I used lynda.com at that time. Now it's LinkedIn Learning to transform my life. And I'm really glad I did. I worked in a lot of industries that, aren't as popular. Like I worked in the news industry for a while. Then I moved on to, radio and TV. And then I came to the web, but still worked in those industries. And I'm really glad I did because it's kind of a lot of fun. Sharon is saying that 1:45 for some reason. So yeah, I know it's 1:45. Did I schedule this just for half an hour? I think I scheduled it for a full hour. So anyways, yeah, I don't really see a lot of comments. Samurai Jack is being super nice. Another show that's pretty cool also, by the way. Very awesome cartoon. Don't forget that after this, I'm going to post a blog post pretty soon after this. I just have to write a couple of things. And I'll post this video on my blog, which is raybo.org. I usually do you can find me just about anywhere at Planet of the Web. I do post things all the time in LinkedIn. So let's see, we'll make sure that we say go to raybo.org. I think I have a better graphic for that. So let's see, I have a little banner. Nope, it's a brand there. So you can go there and I post, I'm trying to make sure that I document everything. So I'll post all the links to everything as well as a blog post with a little more about what I'm doing. And, the reason I'm doing this is because I just finished the course on this particular topic. It's a remake of a course on learning Git and GitHub. And I learned so many cool tips that I figured, why not sort of talk about some of the things that I'm working on. So let's see, 7:46 p.m. Swiss time. Wow, okay, cool. Okay, so cool questions here. What is the most essential thing to break into the tech industry? I think that things are becoming pretty competitive. So I think specialization is really good. But I think, the top thing that you need to do is try to get that first job. I did do a course on how you get that first job. You need to try to become part of the community, get to know other people. The easiest way to get a job, I see all these blog posts from people that have applied like 400 times. I'm like, I don't know how I could possibly apply 400 times. But it's much easier if you just know somebody. I think in that course, I mentioned that I think something like 80% of people get their job because they knew somebody in the industry. That's how I got my first job in technology or on the internet. I was a graphic designer. I had a good graphic design portfolio. I had virtually like no web experience. So I got myself a Lynda account. I learned. I had some things to show. I volunteered at a local club. It was called the At2 Club in Orlando. So it was a I think it was like a marketing type club. And somebody there worked at the newspaper, and she mentioned that they were looking for somebody. If I would have read the job description for that job, I would have never applied because they wanted, typical 5 years of experience. The internet wasn't even that old, at the time. I'm sure it was that old, but I'm saying the internet, you can really find that many people with that much experience. So I think that definitely, specialization is good. The things that are super popular now are like React, GraphQL. Of course, you should learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but React is probably the hottest thing out there. You should definitely do some projects. It's always easier if you do things and can show people that you have experience. For example, something really important is, do you know how to work with an API? Do you know GitHub, for example? So look for the job that you want. Take a look at, so you can do a search on LinkedIn. Take a look at the job description, read what they ask for, and then make sure that you not just add those to your profile. Take courses. Once you finish a course, you can get a certificate that says you've taken this course. But then, try to build something that you can show people that you do have some experience, even if it's beginner experience working with that tool. And then find out the type of things that they do at the company. Working with APIs is a big thing that everybody wants you to have experience with. And then find out what else they do, and maybe you can show them that you can do the work, or at least that you can be an asset to them in some sort of way. If you're a career switcher, it helps to have, like for me, it really helped to have a solid graphic design portfolio. Portfolios are huge in graphic design. It's the same thing on the web. Make sure you have a GitHub account. Make sure that your GitHub, looks solid. So let's see, github.com. I'll show you my GitHub page. And this is pretty cool. So let me share again the screen. Oh, already I'm sharing. I just have to switch the layout. So this is my GitHub page. And you can see that I've customized it quite a bit. The way that you can do this is by creating a repo with the same name as your username. So I have a repo called Planet of the Web. And this is essentially the README file for that repo. And it creates a much better intro page that has all your stuff. Otherwise, you would just go directly to this pin section. This is also pretty important. The pin section lets you pin the projects that you think are the most important. So make sure you take the time to pin things that you want your potential employers to look at. Also, there is when you hit edit profile here. Actually, I think you have to go into, this is really weird. You can go into your settings and get to this, but I think if you click here, just on your photo, it'll take you directly. Put a photo in there. But one of the things that you want to put in here is, oh my gosh, it has I guess everybody, it's not hard to figure out my email. But you can also put in emails that are hashed, so you wouldn't, when people come to your site, they can send you an email, but they can't see your original. And then make sure you fill this out. There is a section here that says available for hire. Make sure that you turn this thing on. A lot of people look for developers on GitHub. Clearly, your LinkedIn profile is paramount. That's how people hire other people today. But if you're looking for work, just in the same way that when you go to LinkedIn, there's a little background that you can add called available for hire. Make sure you do this here, because a lot of people just search through GitHub. And in GitHub, they get a lot of data about you, like, okay, what type of languages are you using? How often do you commit? So contribution settings. But then it kind of tells you the languages, like it'd be able to tell you the languages that they use. And also, what are these projects that you feel are your best work? So I have 100 and 200 repos almost. So I put in the projects that I think showcase some of the things that I like, and that they can also see the things that are maybe popular that you have done. So make sure you do that. Have a good GitHub profile, specialize, go meet some people. I know, listen, I'm not an introvert. I'm an introvert, not an extrovert. It's difficult for me to go to events, but I go to them and I actually enjoy them, because first off, the people that go to the events that I would go to are nerds just like me. So I get to meet really cool people that I can actually communicate. Have you ever heard of all of the AIs that they're building now eventually develop their own language and start talking to each other? It's the same thing when you go to a technology conference or like a bar camp or some kind of local event. It's like you're talking to people and you can talk to them in your own computer language. So that is man, that was a long tip. Let's see. Anything else? What is the most essential break? I think that's just ask the question again. Yeah, so this is some good advice here. Join user groups, follow people on Twitter. It's all about community. Yeah, connect. Like LinkedIn is so good for connecting with people. Lots of people connect with me on LinkedIn. I have eventually, it takes a while to develop a relationship. You don't want to just sort of, connect with somebody and ask them like, hey, can you give me a job? Because, I don't direct hire people on LinkedIn, and just somebody that I don't know, I wouldn't recommend them for a job. But once you get to know the person, I have recommended people for all kinds of different things. So that's really good advice, Sharon. First time here, I have one of your courses. I want to start, let's see. I want to start development again, front end and back end with C#.net. I am not the C#.net person. Maybe you can connect with my friend Walt Richer, and he'll be able to help you a little more. Send me a message, and then maybe I can point you in some different directions just on LinkedIn. That's cool. So here's the first. Oh, look, there's like my friend Sharon is plug-in a course on getting your first job in software development. I really enjoy doing that course. I actually interviewed a ton of people. So I interviewed hiring managers from like Facebook and LinkedIn and other places. And I interviewed like people, like first-time job, people that got their first job already. And I asked them what they did. So not to pat myself too hard on the back, but that's a really good course for you to take a look at. And then there's also Succeeding in Web Development, a full stack and front end. So this first job in web development is really focused for first-time job searchers. So look, Clement is saying, thank you, Sharon. Sharon's the bomb. She's awesome. So let's see. Wow, Ray, what does it say? Hey, yeah, nice to see everyone. It's just amazing. I can't believe that. I don't even know what time it is in Ghana. So, but it can't be close to the same time as here. So yeah, and thank you for asking. I really appreciate you asking questions. I'm on LinkedIn. I think after you finish the stream, there's a chat within the group that gets created, and you can just find me on LinkedIn. I do get a lot of communications, so sometimes it takes me a while. The more complex the question you ask me, the less of a chance you'll get a quick answer on. But honestly, I'll be doing this again. I'm not sure when, because I am traveling, so I don't know how much of this crazy setup I can take with me. But I'll be doing this again within the next few weeks or so. So awesome. Thank you so much for coming. And hopefully I'll see you again next time.